Welcome in the next class. Here we will be talking about PostgreSQL, actually Azure database for PostgreSQL, the very popular open source database which you can use for mobile web and analytics development. So in general, you can have a database architecture, for example, where you have SQL database, Azure SQL database, which will hold some relational data or transaction processing. And then you can have another database, Cosmos DB, Azure Cosmos DB we talked about. It would have some NoSQL data and which, for example, is not used for transaction processing, but is better for global distribution. So you use Cosmos DB, Azure Cosmos DB. And then you can have a third database, which could be some even other option. And let's say this could be Azure database for PostgreSQL, which could be used for enterprise workload, for example. And this why we are covering this one, because this is a very good open source alternative for Azure native databases like Azure SQL database or Azure Cosmos DB, and it's also very popular, which you can find across different platforms. So it's good for you to know how Azure is handling the PostgreSQL environment, even though I think you don't need this for fundamentals. So if you just want to pass the exam, you can skip it. But if you want to learn a bit more on Azure databases, just continue. The most important is open source. You can use for web applications, whatever, content management, user authentication, geospatial application, for example, for location services or mapping. One extra use case we didn't talk before, and analytics, again, you can also use for PostgreSQL for analytics, like data processing or business intelligence. I'll go to PostgreSQL Azure. And then I will go and then you can see Azure Cosmos DB for PostgreSQL, but So here I have a few options: Azure Cosmos DB for PostgreSQL cluster, Azure database for PostgreSQL flexible servers, or Azure database for PostgreSQL servers. I will take the first one. So now I create my database. You already know the steps, so I'm moving a bit fast. Server name detectref, server default, I am in Europe. Development, so if you switch between those two, you can see what's the difference. Here, very interesting that you are not sure if that's not the bug. You are getting okay, because when I was switching between, I have noticed that development was more expensive, but it's because of this one. Oh, now it's better. Yeah, so I make it development. Availability zone, I give 1, but you can also give 2 or 3. I give 1. Be careful with this database. And then this is very important. I will select an admin, so that's me. And this is, don't forget about this. And some kind of password. Okay, SQL. Okay, I hope I remember. Then networking, leave it by default, don't change anything. Security, the same. Tags, review, create. And we must be sure to delete it because it's a very expensive one. We don't want any firewall rules here. Yes, here you are. It was a very long deployment. Yeah, so here we are. Now you can go through a couple of settings if you want. Here this is all the same. If you want, this is something new. But now it's disabled. So those are like two settings which are very PostgreSQL related. Data security, it was there in other ones as well. Power BI, and here's some settings which we had already before. Here are a couple of databases, so we can see, for example, the database. You can say connect, and then I can get a hint. So now I gonna get rejected. And I'm also getting hint to all connectivity use any local tools like pgadmin4, dbver, vsco, etc. because we will try one of them. I have it ready. Let it update. Yes, we are here. Networking is also there, and as you can see now we had that my address. I think this would be what's my IP. So when you get this pop-up, you can check what's your IP, for example, some kind of website like this one, and then compare it here if this is the same one. Here is the same one. So then you make sure that you won't run out of connection. Problems like I had, I think, with Azure SQL database recording. Yes, database connect. Remember the port 5432. Here we are getting lots of hints how to connect from different clients. Yes, server parameters, all these things, to be honest, this is very advanced. And here, for example, what we can do, we can change this one, and what will happen, what do you expect? More or less. Now I also, now you got 10 times less. So let's be safe, and I will adjust the server configuration a bit. Every time you make some during creation, you got a little bit big budget. When you are lost or you are new, then you can also take a look in this part of the setting, which was compute and storage. So let's update this. So that's one extra option from Azure databases, not only actually, because you can adjust also other resources, not only databases. Finally, we are there. So now we go to compute and storage, and then we can see we have a proper, more friendly budget. And the rest, yeah, just very things you can go through. Okay. Now, we can also go here, Resource Visualizer, you have seen this, nothing here. And then you would like to connect somehow, but you don't see the option to do it like we did in the previous day recordings with Azure Cosmos DB and Azure SQL database, and then we'll connect from the client here. By the way, here you could also connect the networking here to allow access, but we did already when I was here before seeing here. And from those view connection strings, we also have been here. So those are for developers. This information for developers. And you can go through here. Here are many interesting features or informations, or you can, I really like always these metrics. So you can see them here as well, and some tutorials. So now we will connect to this database using something called pgadmin. This is the most popular client for administrating PostgreSQL database, and we'll just make a quick connection. Let's see this time if no problem. So here, when you install it from the website, you can just click download and select what you want or what you need. Then when you install this, you will see this kind of pop-up. There are many different tabs you can go through, but I want to just register, right click on servers, so I don't have any. If I expand it, register server, then I get the name, which I copy from Azure, hostname address also copy from Azure, port 5432, and this is correct because when we have been here, when we've been here, we also got the 5432. Okay. Maintenance database Postgres, it's here, and the username I'm showing you quickly, this one, administration login, and my secret password, and then you can save it or not. Okay, save. Okay, and then we are in. That's it. This is actually all what I wanted to show you. Here you get all this, also some kind of metrics you can get. You can see already some things are popping up. Databases, Azure maintenance database. You can go through some of them. But this is created by Azure and Azure Sys, and this is also created by Azure, but it's our database. So you can click through these things. What's more, it's a little bit advanced, so don't get scared. And to be honest, you just need to know that you can that such a things exists, and if you would be able to connect to pgadmin, that's already a lot, to be honest. But maybe I will try to do one more thing in databases. I create database, and I create the name. How do you want to name it? Test. Okay. And where we can go definitions, you can go to security, go all these things, but we don't need it. But what we'll do, we'll just create a sample database from what we have here prepared already for you. And then we have a created sample database, which you can you can explore if you want. What I can do actually, maybe in schema, if you right click on all of those, you can create everything you need. If I create a schema, for example, I can create a schema, my schema, and this is again something already for you. So pre-select, and then you can have another schema, for example. But you can test all the other options, and then you can, for example, make some SQL queries if you really want. But the most important is there is Azure supports PostgreSQL, and from Azure you don't connect to PostgreSQL. You need client, for example, pgadmin, and that's how you connect. What we have seen here, we created database, we created schema, and then PostgreSQL, and then, for example, you can go to tables, and you could create some table, for example, I don't know, my table, and then you could have some columns here, and then you have here you could have some data to have some columns, you have some rows like we had in Azure SQL recording, where because it's also a relational database like Azure SQL database, and then we could have some kind of data here. If we can maybe try to my column, and then then here you select let's say city, when we had the city example where I made a mistake. We can, for example, select let's date. I will say that because I found the date quicker. Date, this, save, and then you get a date, right? You can refresh, you can query, you can look on the properties. So it's very advanced tool. I went a bit too far, so it might be even confusing. And now what I will do, I will of course delete my resource. Okay, and then I click delete, and then it will delete at some point, maybe after the recording. And there is one more database I want to talk about, will be MySQL, and then I will talk about this in the next recording.